Marius, I'll start with you. Shareholders approved the deal last month. Have all other approvals been received already?
All approvals received, Competition Board, as you've mentioned, shareholders approval. So it's purely academics now that has to take place. Delisting around about the 11th of December for TWP, and then final conclusion on 21st December to incorporate them into Basil Read.
How is TWP going to fit into Basil Read, Marius?
First of all, it will stay separate as a separate entity. For us, it's been clear that the business has to run and do what it's best at, which is engineering and various other sectors like process engineering in the mining side. And for us, we see a lot of synergies between the two groups, and we'll expand a little bit later, I'm sure, in the program.
Nigel, what's your role going to be going forward? Still just heading up TWP? Will you take a broader role within the enlarged group?
No, I'm going to remain in charge of TWP and the bigger TWP group, as I have been for the last, I think, 28 years now. But I will be taking up a seat on the main Basil Read board and hopefully be able to offer an insight, certainly from our perspective, into the strategy on a go-forward basis for the bigger group.
How is the strategy going to change going forward?
Well, I think TWP is known as an engineering service provider. We're very, very good at that. Basil Read is known as a contractor, and they're very good at that as well. So the two businesses will continue to do what they're best at. But where we're going to actually focus, we're going to focus on what we can do together, where we can put new product offerings into the market, and product offerings which our clients are actually looking for, mainly in the field of what's known as EPC or turnkey work, where the combined group will take on the engineering design and the construction of major projects in the mining and the infrastructure field.
Does this preclude you from using other process engineers that you would have perhaps in the past?
No, we will continue to do business and being invited to tenders by other engineering groups, as is currently happening. There has been some concern that in terms of overlapping between ourselves and TWP and information from competitors versus TWP's information. But obviously, you know, for us, we don't see that as a big or a serious problem. It's business as normal for us as a contractor for engineering and clients.
Now, Nigel, while it's been acknowledged that Basil Read needed an engineering arm, you may not be a great cultural fit. Is that something you've examined as you've gone into this merger, how you are going to work together and bring two cultures together? We've
been in these discussions since, in fact, TWP was approached by Basil Read in January this year. So it hasn't been an overnight affair. During that period, we've obviously got to know quite well the management of Basil Read, some of their staff quite intimately. And we believe that the cultures are actually very similar. They're both entrepreneurial cultures. We get along well together. And while there will obviously be a bedding-in period, we have already looked at integrating some of Basil Read's personnel within TWP and vice versa, and we see it making a good fit on a go-forward basis.
Is this going to lead to any rationalization of staff and systems, Marius?
No, purely for us, a lot of young engineers that we sponsor through university has the wish to be involved in a consulting company, and this is a fantastic opportunity for them. And from integration, probably that's one of the things where there will be an opportunity for Basil Read staff. But vice versa, we've already been staff available within TWP has been nominated to Basil Read to look if they can fit. And we've already nominated a full-time one of our executive directors to help with the synergies of the merger and synergies in working together and making sure that there's no bureaucracy between the two companies, that whatever we want to execute together must be very fluent and very easy to be done.
What sorts of synergies are you looking at, Nigel? What sorts of cost savings could come out of this merger?
There's no huge cost savings because, as I said, the two businesses will pretty much run doing their current work. Yes, there are some cost savings. For instance, TWP will delist, so there's not the cost associated with two listings. Some of our executive management in a non-public company are not necessary. But the big synergy is going to be, as I said, putting new product offerings into the market, EPC, turnkey, and particularly PPP, public-private partnership projects, which Basil Read are already looking at. in the civil structural engineering field and roads, and we're now going to look at, in a broader spectrum, and also throughout Africa and other parts of the world where TWP is already involved, for instance Australia and South America.
Mm-hmm. Well, PPP, that seems to be on the lips of lots of sectors at this stage, not just the construction sector. Do you think that's one of the ways forward for South Africa, that there are going to be increasing numbers of public-private partnerships, Marius?
Yes, definitely. It's become fashion in Europe and even in America and other parts of the world, and specifically Australia, that it's a model that's been working for government. Especially, it helps them to roll out their projects and to reduce funding pressure on governments. And it's clear that South Africa has embraced that model. And we started 2 years ago to work with government on those TWPs. And we've already submitted 3 projects along those lines. There was 4 prisons. There was a new head office for the Swanee municipality, and Department of Land Affairs has been submitted as well. There's a toll road coming up very soon now. The tender will come out early next year. There's a university in Botswana. So definitely the governments, South Africa as well as cross-border, Namibia has started inquiring, a lot of demand for that. And the banks and the funding, there's quite an appetite from the funders for that kind of project as well, specifically with our South African government guarantees from Treasury.
Mm-hmm. Well, moving outside of the public sector perhaps, Nigel, what's the private sector looking like at this stage? Because we know we have come through a difficult time. Obviously companies that have exposure to government infrastructure projects have been doing relatively well. Are we starting to see any confidence coming back into the markets? And how, as a combined group, will you be positioned to take advantage of a rebound?
We've seen the first sort of 6 months of this year. There's been very tough trading conditions following on from a tough few months at the end of last year. But the last few months we've definitely seen a lot more activity. We at the moment are probably pricing 30 or so projects per month with a reasonable success rate. And we've got a lot of...
Is that government and private sector or just private sector?
TWP's core business is in fact the mining and the minerals sector, so it's largely private sector.
Yeah.
We do very little public sector work at this point in time. But we've definitely seen a turnaround. We're definitely seeing higher levels of activity. I think what the next crunch is going to be, we've got a lot of good projects on the cards. Is the finance available for those projects? It may be towards the middle to the third quarter of next year when they will be rolled out onto site.
Mm-hmm. What's your order book looking like at the moment, Marius? What sorts of projects do you have lined up going into 2010?
Our order book, inclusive of a 1-year view on TWP, is 8 billion currently going into the new year, and that's about an 18-month forward-looking window. Obviously, Nigel has sitting with an order book of roughly around about 100 billion on which they're writing fees, but that is anywhere from a couple of months to 10 years. So what we've done is we've only incorporated 1 year's of revenue from them as a forward-looking order book to reach this 8 billion. Obviously, if we include the whole order book, it'll be quite dramatically big.
And scope for growth from this point?
Oh, definitely. There's massive. None of our order books include any of the TPPs, and those are very large projects that we're working on. And there's quite a few tenders. We've got nearly about 2 billion rands worth of tenders that we know that we're in the running and that hasn't been awarded as well, so which can be awarded within the next 2 to 3 months.
Clive, will you be hitting the ground running on December the 21st when this merger becomes effective?
No, I'll be going on holiday.
Good idea. Well, I suppose January the 4th.
Definitely. And everything's in place, and I think after what's been a tough year, we're all going to take a short but well-deserved rest, and as you say, come back, hit the ground running.